Hello, it's Brad Laurie, or Blockchain Brad, and today we're talking about all things Orion with respect to Orion Protocol, and we have Alexey Koloskov in the hot seat right now. He is the CEO of Orion. Alex, thank you very much for making time to speak with me today.
Hi, Brad. Thank you for the chance to do an interview with you. I'm very proud of it.
Likewise, mate. Now, in the name of transparency and also on behalf of BlockVera, I'd like to thank you, Alex, because you are sponsoring this particular, episode of BlockVera and also this conversation. And for those of you wondering what that means, for BlockVera, it's all about truth, trust, and transparency. And we use some of the funds that are provided from such sponsorships to support freelance content creation. So whether you're a writer, whether you are a content creator as a podcaster, it's all about supporting unbiased content as well, and people like Alex through his sponsorship are helping support that ethos and that plan. So thank you once again for doing so, and it is imperative that we disclose at all times when things are sponsored. Now, Alex, I wanted to go into more about the fundamentals of Orion and dig deep into what you stand for. You've made it very clear when you have slogans written in your literature. The first one is, it states that you are a liquidity aggregator protocol. Obviously, aggregator implies bringing things together as a unifier. You want to bring exchanges together, but using one seamless protocol to do it. And you want to standardize this with an API. So let's explore this from you, sir. What exactly does this mean? And what problem are you trying to solve in this space?
Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. So Orion Protocol is liquidity aggregator protocol, as you already mentioned. It combines it's connected to multiple exchanges and brings them under one roof, providing universal trading gateway to all available crypto markets. It's very important to know that we are protocol, so it's not just another trading tool or exchanges. It means that many different applications can be built on Orion Protocol, requiring trading or exchange functionality. Mm-hmm. Some of such product will be built from our core team, like trading terminal, DEX launch kit, liquidity boost plugin, and others, which we can talk more.
Yes, I really would like to talk more on those points of the trade terminal and any of the other functionalities as well.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, what Orion Protocol trying to solve? What problems? We identified a number of current problems in crypto trading that exist now. The most important of them is security problems, which means that user needs to transfer their funds to some trusted third party, and that third party, like centralized exchanges, frequently hacked. It's one of the major problem, and actually it's ideology from ideology. It's quite weird that we are trading decentralized entities on centralized exchanges. So the other big problems that exist, that there are too many exchanges right now, and for end users quite difficult to choose the best one. Some of tokens, some of assets easier to trade on one exchange, some on other. So this multiple accounts and management of this multiple accounts is quite difficult. Transfer funds between them, and liquidity on one exchange can be not enough, especially when we are talking for crypto assets out of first tens.
And it's really interesting also, Alex, because you're listening to the people, I think, because many of them are complaining about these problems, often saying, wouldn't it be great if we had some sort of mechanism that is a one-stop shop for price discovery, for aggregation of various exchanges, and most importantly through the SEX and the DEX in terms of CEX, centralized exchange, and DEX, decentralized exchange. You're bringing those worlds together. You don't discriminate in that sense. Now, you also explain how you do it. through order splitting, you try and find best and most optimal price by essentially having a wide spread. So can you talk us through the mechanisms, how you do this, and why it's beneficial? You know, why is it so useful to have access to multitude of different exchanges and then once again use that price splitting process?
Yeah, internally Orion is built around the concept of aggregator order book, which unify orders from different connected exchanges. When new orders come to Orion, our matching engine can split this order and find the best route to be executed to each of this part to be executed to find the best possible price on the market. So after splitting and choosing the best exchanges, also Orion search for the broker or liquidity provider, how we called it, which will execute this particular part of the order on a specific exchange. After that, we combine on all trades for these parts, and the whole order can be executed.
Right. So you really optimize it for the trader, but you mentioned before a very important part, and that's the matching engine itself, the Orion matching engine. How can we ensure that you have one of the better products out there when it comes to matching engine technology? Because that drives the success of the aggregation.
Yeah, so our matching engine is connected in real time to multiple exchanges, and the number of these exchanges is not limited because we have intermediate layer of connectors. Each connectors provide connection to specific exchanges, our matching engine analyze not only prices from this exchange but also available funds from different brokers. Because, for example, you can have the best price for Ethereum right now on Bittrex, for example, but maybe there is not enough funds for brokers if you want to execute large order. That's why we take into account all this information like price, order book dApps, and available funds. And all this calculated in real time, and we find the best route for executing your order.
I see. So calculated in real time requires a reasonably fast process. Once again, harping back to the matching engine, is there any way that you can evidence the technology in terms of being performant, making sure that it can be done in real time, there's no lapses, the latency, isn't an issue, and how transparent is, for example, the technology, the code, when it comes to anyone wanting to assess the value of what underpins Orion as a protocol?
Yeah, for sure. We did already some testing for measure our throw output, latency, and it shows that latency of Orion platform, Orion protocol for one matching engine is quite low. It's around 50 to 100 milliseconds.
Okay, so that's quite good.
Yeah, for the cryptocurrencies, it's very actually very good numbers. And also regarding transparency, our matching engine will be open sourced. So currently it's part of our code already on GitHub. Part is still private, but eventually it will be all open sourced. And what's also very important is that different matching engines or matchers can be run by different participants. So community members can choose to run their own matcher, and all these matchers is united in common network, and they can share orders. So regarding transparency, yeah, it will be completely transparent, all this mechanism.
Right. Now, Alex, you have been in the space for some time. Orion has been around for some time. Can you give us a bit of a quick rundown on the history in terms of development from when you first started building this, so we understand this is not just a sudden startup that's emerged today, but this actually has a bit of history as you built the tech?
Yeah, exactly. It's not. We have um, come a long road already because me personally, I am in blockchain since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I started with Waves platform and built one of the first and major decentralized exchange right now, Waves DEX. It performs very well now. It provides the user experience compared to the ordinary or centralized exchange, so user cannot even can't even distinguish if they trading on DEX, the Waves decentralized exchange, or on some centralized exchange like Binance.
Mm-hmm.
But still, DEX is very popular, and for sure it's the future. I completely believe in all the idea of decentralization, and for sure it will be future. But we cannot ignore the fact that the most liquidity is still on centralized exchanges.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you're talking about institutional traders or some enterprise clients that wants to distribute large orders, for sure we need to utilize all available liquidity.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Orion is some intermediate solution that bridge these two worlds. Actually,
Right. Right. And Alex, it
Mhm.
seems like a logical progression, to be honest, when we have the emergence of several exchanges. And you mentioned before, arguably there's just too many exchanges out there to cope with the already very questionable degree of real volume out there in the crypto space. A lot of competition for the volume and exchanges trying to capture the attention and the liquidity. So the question I have for you is, why hasn't something like this emerged in the past? Say for example, post 2017 in that boom, why weren't there more exchange aggregators, and why weren't there more protocols trying to enable this, do you think?
Yeah, actually, I have some answers to this question because as I am as a developer of exchange, can completely assure that building one particular exchange is less difficult. It's easier than build this aggregator because yeah, for sure, aggregator requires different aspects. So all this connectivity should be monitored, should be properly managed. So first of all, it's technically not very easy, but we have solution for this already.
Okay.
Second, technology also evolving among different blockchains. All blockchains are rapidly developed, so new functionality arise that make it available to trade more more secure and in more decentralized way.
And also, it also provides for more financial trust, I suppose, because you can spread
Yeah.
that initial that individual's position when they do start to engage with exchanges. It's more financially beneficial, is what I'm trying to get at. Now, I wanted to ask you about your experience in Waves, because you mentioned that you are one of the key founding members of that that framework of that decentralized exchange. Would you have been able to do this exchange aggregator, had you have not had that experience, do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, we already built this major components of our aggregator, so they're already working in our beta, in our trading terminal. So for sure, this aggregation, and also with such projects that we are partner right now, like OneChain, like Holochain, they all, for example, one chain have cross-chain transactions as their first-level citizens. So we want to utilize this technology from different projects. And also, I must say that Orion is using the cutting-edge decentralized technology, like atomic swaps, like staking, side
Yes,
and for sure we researching other promising technology like Lightning, but some of the technology are still to be completed because they have some in progress. And for sure, Orion will utilize all these modern technologies. Right now, we choose the most way that we see will be the most useful for end users, like using proxy tokens for all settlements for trading.
Right. Well, let's talk. I want to just jump in for a moment. Let's talk about those partnerships you mentioned, because quite sincerely, a lot of the times when we see partnerships emerge in the crypto space, immediately I question whether or not that's a genuine partnership, whether that's meaningful, or whether that's just for superficial means to pump their price. Now, you mentioned some very prominent names, especially one, and that's Holochain. You're working with them. One chain you mentioned as well. Can you tell us what the true nature is of these partnerships? What do you actually fundamentally plan to do beyond just simply announcing the partnership? What's the real long-term plan?
For Holochain, for example, we are building some of core models of Orion on Holochain technologies. Namely, it's Orion to broker settlement model. It built on a unique feature of Holochain, like mutual crypto credits accounting system. It's kind of double ledger when you store debits and credits onto different parties' local chains, and its technology allows very easily and very easily integrate and implement our settlement logic between different parties. So we choose this platform for building our models, but besides just building models, we also integrated the whole ecosystem of Holochain projects. Other projects building Holochain will be listed on Orion, and their native tokens.
Right. So in that respect, you're integrating your technology, your services into Holochain, and then there's a reciprocal benefit because they're also going to enable, you're going to support their HAPs, as they call it, the applications that essentially they are accepting in their ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's really interesting, because that was one of the reasons why I wanted to speak with you, because I did read into that partnership. Holochain does have a very strong reputation in the space, so you must be very proud I would assume, without trying to FOMO, because I don't like that sort of thing, but once again, there is a distinction between certain projects and others. Holochain is really trying to be that agent-centric approach. They're not going after, a pump and dump type coin, but rather represent some sort of stability in the unit of account, or that what they call hollow fuel that represents and drives their ecosystem. So once again, you're partnering with an entity that's trying to be here for the long term.
What other partners? Yeah, you're asking. Sorry.
Well, it's just the point. It's just really discussing this in terms of the confidence you must have, because you're partnering with another entity that is not here for the short-term game.
Yeah, for sure. Holochain have a great community, and they have their own vision on the further development of all decentralized applications, the decentralized finance. Whole fuel you mentioned. We use ideas of Holochain in our settlement models also. So it will be very natural for us to integrate whole fuel and trading and other projects using whole fuel.
Right. Well, let's explore a little bit more about the need for Orion, because obviously this will help the listeners understand, exactly what you're trying to do, and that there's real use and application and use case for this. And we mentioned some of the exchanges. We mentioned some of the problems inherent in just having a single exchange approach. Some of the things that have been mentioned in reading about you are, you mentioned there's too many exchanges, there's multiple exchanges. The high fees, these are the things I do want to touch on, because these are really pragmatic problems. When I say, for example, want to engage in certain exchanges, it can cost quite a lot depending on which exchange that I choose. So can this be a genuine cost saving approach by having this exchange aggregation model?
Yeah, exactly. Fees is one of the major part in trading. And it's fee model constantly changing on different exchanges, so it's not some solid part, but still Orion will become competitive in terms of fee model by different reasons. First reason that we use this aggregation and brokers who execute orders on traders' behalf have much better fee tariffs compared to ordinary users. So almost all exchanges provide discounts for such large volume traders. That is, it's the first gain that users receive. Second, we have some partnership with some exchanges already that can give us a special discount also in terms of tariff.
Can I just interrupt you there for a second? Has it been difficult to engage with some of the top exchanges with regard to liquidity? Because obviously the term top is subjective, and I don't want to suggest that certain exchanges, whether they're centralized or decentralized, are better, but liquidity is king when it comes to exchanges. Have you found any barriers to try and have conversations with some of these major players when it comes to liquidity to forge strong relationships and strong partnerships?
Actually, we don't compete with exchanges. We just bring them on some easy to use platform for users.
But the question is, have you found that easy to do, given that you're aiming to have that one singular API that essentially works as a one-stop shop? Have you had any barriers to discussions and access to the decision makers with these dominant exchanges in the space, whether that be Binance, for example, or Kraken, whether that be Poloniex, whichever ones that you're engaging with? Has it been easy to have the conversation of inclusion?
Actually, from a technical point, we don't need any special services from that exchange. We use just public APIs. Regarding fee, some discounts, it also mutual beneficial, because we bring volumes to that exchanges. They give some special discounts. So it's actually, as it's mutually beneficial, so there is no big problems, and we don't require any efforts from that exchanges. And also, very important that Orion can be useful not for new or emerging exchanges to enhance their liquidity. For them, we are building the product called Liquidity Boost plugin. But also, existing exchange can utilize liquidity, because for some trading pairs there can be not enough liquidity, and they can also execute part of order on their own, and the remaining parts sent to Orion. So every exchange can also benefit from Orion for their users.
Right. Now, in this sense, you mentioned that you're quite supportive or bullish on a greater sort of market share being seen on decentralized exchanges, the DEX as we know them. Given that you are essentially still supporting all of them, do you think that over time the performance of DEXs will improve because of your protocol? Whether that be the Binance DEX, for example, or other DEXs we see? Because right now, comparatively, the performance of DEXs just hasn't been the same as the centralized exchanges. Are you part of the reason why this could change?
For sure, we will help in this direction, and not only because of speed, but because of liquidity. Because speed, many different blockchain projects emerge trying to solve this speed problem with transactions, number of transactions, speed of transaction. So it's more on relies on underlying blockchain that all settlements happened. So, for example, I can mention some projects that we already in deep talk, in deep discussion about using their public blockchains as settlement blockchain on Orion, like Elrond, and other projects that specifically target on this high throughput of transaction per second. Yeah, and also just mention one thing in addition to fee model, that fee is not all that in trading. Maybe more importantly is spread between buy and sell orders. In that terms, Orion not only provides the same or lower fee, but also gives the lower possible spread between buy and sell orders, even providing arbitrage opportunity when
I say, so even that arbitrage, even that minimal spread, that's where the real trust and value can come in, because that's something that cannot be done easily when you just work in one exchange. So that in itself, that aggregation is the asset. And obviously there will be other protocols come forward that try to do something similar, but you've made it clear that it's not easy to do. And the fact that you've had this preceding experience with a DEX, it's really quite, I think, important for the listeners, and including myself even, to understand you didn't just come in with an idea, but you have that backing with your team. Now, with regard to clients, Orion clients, I want to understand that a bit more if we could go there, because there are specific ones, mentioned, such as market makers, institutions, IEOs, HFTS, and also sectors relate to that, whether that be large retail, small exchanges even. So can you talk us through clients, who you think are going to be the predominant users initially of this aggregator?
Yeah, actually, Orion target both markets, retail and B2B sectors. When I'm talking B2B, I mean that Orion can be useful for third-party projects like exchanges or like projects that needs to run their own DEXs on the native blockchains. For them, we identified and already developed some products for this B2B sector. This project, for example, DEX Latchkind, when project can run their own DEXs in terms of maybe weeks, not months. Also, Liquidity Boost plugin, as I already mentioned, is a plugin that will allow exchanges to enhance their order books with orders from Orion. And from end users, there will be no changes. It will look like all these orders on that particular exchange, but internally, this plugin will allow and will be fully customizable, and will allow to execute part of order internally, part externally with Orion Liquidity. Also we have an interesting feature called Orion Enterprise Trade. It's for projects that have enterprise clients and also requires to execute large volume orders. Orion give algorithmic model to split this large order in parts and execute them with delays, utilizing all available liquidity. So this P2B sector is very interesting, and we have already many requests for using and for trying our products, but also products like trading terminals that already in beta and can be tried and tested via our website. It's for ordinary trader, for retail users that can start trading right from their cold wallets, utilizing power.
So the trading terminal is ready to go right now. It's accessible. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's still in testnet right now, but we are going to run pilot version by the end of this year in mainnet, and public mainnet early next year.
Okay.
And it's the first project that we completely focused right now, because it easily shows the power of Orion protocol in general.
Right. Well, you mentioned before about the mainnet coming, in the beginning of next year, as I understand, or certainly down the track this year. In relation to some of these partnerships you're mentioning, such as Elrond, for example, can we talk a bit more about prospective partnerships or those that are in the pipeline? Again, not to FOMO, but it's just to give the listeners an understanding, and myself, about the kinds of partnerships you're planning out and what they actually mean. Are you going to replicate the kind of real use case, real reciprocal relationship and partnership that you forged with Holochain, for example, with other startups, with other blockchain-based initiatives, and what is the basis of them?
Yeah, when we looking for partnership, we first searching for some cooperation and for and to make synergy of our efforts in cross-chain transactions and cross-chain because several projects trying to solve this problem, and this problem is not easy. There are many approaches to them. So for sure, to solving this problem, we want to partner with different efforts of other projects like Elrond, like OneChain. In terms of products for end users, we also negotiation with projects that provide some services like lending, for example, Helix network project. So we want to partner from technical perspective with projects that tries to improve the speed of blockchain and targeted cross-chain interoperability. And also we are looking for partnership with third-party services that can also be integrated in Orion and can be used by end users, like already said.
I say it'll be good to see more of these unfold in the coming months.
Sorry?
It'll be good to see some of these unfold, some of the other subsequent partnerships coming forward that we don't yet know in the coming months as you move towards mainnet.
For sure. Several partnerships will be announced very soon already.
Right. Now, I want to ask you, why are you, moving through the process now of the listing of the private sales? You're not at mainnet yet. Is there a reason why you started to make these moves now rather than later when you have the mainnet functioning and you technically would have a native token at that point?
For sure, we do it in parallel. So we continue development, but as I already mentioned, there are different parts of Orion. We have different projects and different streams that we can work in parallel, and it depends on the amount of resources that we can allocate on these different streams. And for sure, the more resources we have, the more rapidly we can deliver end products. So
Right.
that's why we decided, to run private sale now, and to speed up all activities, because all these projects that I mentioned can be can bring value right now after they will be released and be available for other for third parties for other customers that will use.
Now, given that there's a lot of conjecture about actual volume in this space at the moment as well, Alex, are you concerned at all about the fact that some of these exchanges may not actually have credible volumes? Are you concerned at all about the overall problem of fake volume as well, especially in light of, for example, CoinMarketCap? They're redressing some of the means in which they assess real volume, and they're going to essentially align that in the way in which they numerically show startups of value. So are you concerned that we don't really know exactly what is real, what isn't at the moment? And are you supporting more true volumes?
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the concern, but Orion is not very vulnerable to this, because we use the real order book. So we use volumes from order book, not from aggregator trades. So technically, internally, all exchanges have different APIs for completed trades and for current order books. So we relies completely on the existing order books, and we more exactly, more precisely know what the particular exchange volume has right now.
Okay.
So
right.
I guess that we have more exact and more precise volume estimates than other services like CoinMarketCap can receive, because they use other types of APIs. So
yes.
our volume will be more exact, more precise.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, currently, with regard to the collaborations that you've forged in the centralized domain, you have companies like Binance, Kraken, Huobi, Bitfinex, Bittrex, and Poloniex. You know that you are, from my understanding, you have had discussions and working with them. Decentralized, obviously, Waves, given your experience and position, OX, BitShares, EtherDelta, IDEX. There's just some that I've written down from the literature. Now, are they the ones that, am I correct in saying they're the predominant exchanges currently, or have I missed some, and are there more coming that we should know about?
Actually, yeah, all these exchanges we already create a connector for them, and connected to Orion, we can receive and can route to all these exchanges orders or part of orders. But as I maybe briefly mentioned, we have this connector layer architecture that provides very easily to develop, to create your own connector to some other exchanges. And it can be done not only by our core team, but also by third-party developers. So you can contribute this connector, and it will be so new exchange can be integrated very easily. So this list for sure is not extensive, and will increase quite rapidly, I suppose.
Right.
Especially when we create special tools for validating this connector. So our effort with cooperation with Certic project, we developing this tool that can easily and automatically validate connector to satisfy all requirements for Orion and can be easily integrated.
Yes, I'm familiar with Certic. I've actually spoken with the CEO before, and they focus on verifying, formally verifying certain processes and protocols. So it's good that you are once again aligning with those sorts of parties. Now, with regard to the process, someone who's very familiar with this, could you talk us through this as if, no one has any understanding? Let's assume that for a moment, and give us an example of how the process actually works from beginning to end. If we were talking about a smart contract process transaction using ORN, obviously, as the fee system that governs the process. So say, for example, you want to send some BTC or you want to send some sort of digital asset. What would the process be to make the exchange aggregation process nice and easy?
Yeah. Also, it needs to mention that in Orion we completely committed to the idea of non-custodial decentralized finance, so that we don't store any funds of users. So that's our first and main idea. That's why we allows trading from right from the wallet. So how actually the mechanism works? For example, you want to buy Ethereum for your Bitcoins, that you have in your cold wallet.
Okay.
You need to exchange your native tokens for proxy tokens on some underlying blockchain that we use for settlement and for this proxy tokens storage. Orion itself is blockchain agnostic, so underlying blockchain can be different. So we are not locked for one specific blockchain. For example, we already tested Waves platform, Waves blockchain. Right now we are in migration to one chain blockchain. So if we talking, for example, that settlement blockchain is one chain. So you exchange your Bitcoin to proxy WBTC Bitcoin on one chain. And it happens in atomic swaps in completely decentralized way without trusted third party. Okay. So you lock your native Bitcoin to smart contracts, and you receive proxy tokens in exchange in atomic way. So
through an order matching process.
Yeah. Right. And after you receive this WBTC, you can send orders for different trading pairs. For example, buying Ethereum or buying Ripple or buying any other exchanges. You create the same order that you get used to in centralized exchange, and sign this order with your private keys of your own account. And this order entity is entity on blockchain, so it's used in exchange smart contract.
So there's a record of this completely via the blockchain, and it's important. You've explained you're not a bank, so you don't store any funds in any way. You're just literally that agent when it comes to the party, the conduit between the transaction, whether the party that's doing the transaction and looping back to them while as they try to essentially exchange one of their digital assets for another.
Yeah. So Orion is after that procedure. Orion utilize peer-to-peer trading model. So it just finds the different parties who wants to exchange their assets.
Yep.
And after they find each other, settlements and exchanges assets happens on blockchain in also without participation of Orion. So we have some central components which still can be distributed and decentralized by running different instances of them. But besides it, all other transfer funds or exchanges happens completely on blockchain. To smart contracts.
Right, well, that's good to know. So thank you for explaining that process. Now, one of the things that I was reading into, I didn't quite understand, and I still don't entirely, is your inclusion of IEOs onto your platform, in that you're going to enable essentially IEOs to launch. Now, given that you're a platform, you're a exchange aggregator, can you explain to us how this additional aspect of your design is going to work to support IEOs?
Actually, it means that because we have our own internal matching engine, so we can also provide such functionality as listing new asset, new tokens. So, after listing, and I already mentioned that we agreed to list projects built on Holochain already, and many other projects can also be listed on Orion. And after listing, they receive access to all available liquidity on that Orion has. So this listing mechanism is available because of our own internal matching engine, and also maybe some probably some further negotiation with particular exchange about IEOs also.
But can I ask you though? Can I ask you why you want to do it? Will there be a significant financial benefit to Orion by enabling the launching of IEOs with your protocol, for example? Because to use the word launch, we typically think about either a DEX on their own or a centralized exchange more predominantly. But in this instance, naturally we think of aggregation as a protocol that acts as a means to engage many. So when we're talking about you facilitating IEOs as a protocol, does that advantage your startup, your team, in terms of revenue? I mean, what's the real reason why you want to support the IEO in this way?
Okay, so for sure, there is advantages for Orion, for protocol, for stakeholders, for token holders, because first of all, IEOs and other trading is generation of volume, of trading volume, and for each these volumes, Orion and matcher engines relayers receive their part of transaction fee. So for sure, EO is increasing volumes for which fee also will be received. Additionally, listing will require having Orion tokens, and also voting for different projects will be possible with Orion tokens. So completely all these activities in complete alignment with other features and services that can be used with our internal utility.
I see. And does it concern you at all, Alex, that some of the startups that have decided to use the IEO as a mechanism for marketing and a ploy to essentially initiate their presence in crypto, are you concerned that a lot of the time it's really just a means to gain capital, to garner support, but more importantly, make money, as opposed to really just starting to showcase their technology to enable utility. Does it worry you what some of these IEOs have actually done in the past?
Of course, if tokens are not integral part of the whole ecosystem, are just some sort of attracting funds, yeah, for sure, it's a big concern. That's why investors, traders should completely understand what the purpose of the token and how it will be used. And right now, there is not too much real applications of utility tokens. We know some success stories like BNB, Binance tokens, and that's why we use also the same model when one of the main use case for token is paying transaction fee. It's completely natural use of token. Other applications, yeah, for sure should be investigated more deeply.
Right. And do you discriminate at all in your process, or because, as you mentioned before, you're agnostic, do you not get involved in which list and which do not? Because once again, you are that fundamental exchange aggregator protocol rather than an exchange itself.
For sure, we provide more technical platform and protocol and concentrate more on technical aspects. Some sort of moderation and other should be, my perspective, should be driven by community through transparent process of voting, of discussions. So we only facilitate these activities, but not don't plan to do our own.
I see.
Yeah.
I totally understand. Now, the team itself, I really wanted to talk about that in detail. Now, you as a CEO, I had a look at your credentials. It's clear that you've had experience in this whole sector, particularly with regard to building out the matching engine. You've proven that you've got some experience technologically and engineering-wise. But then I had a look at some of the other team members, and I want to just explore this because two of the members of your core team are brothers. And they both work in the business side of this. So the CEO, we have Cal. We also have our Director of Communications, and that's Janusz. As I said, brothers. You also have several others who are more engaged in the engineering side, but not a huge team. You know, that's very clear to me. And you do have a head of business, Eduardo. He's head of developer business. Do you feel like, given the things I'm talking about, that you have a strong enough team to start this?
Yeah, for sure. We have a very team with good expertise in different aspects. So part of our team very experienced in business relations and operations, like you mentioned, Carl and Janusz. Also, we have Eduardo that knows how to manage development activities, and he very keen in all this IT management stuff. Also me, Eduard, also have
You've
good
had
experience.
Simon as well, and Alex.
Yeah, Simon, yeah, they experience in blockchain, especially for development or trading system or wallet functionality. So we completely all need. We have all that we need right now, but for sure we will increase our development team, and we plan to increase it significantly very soon to allocate it to concentrate on different products.
Okay. I guess the main thing I wanted to ask is the team first and foremost about the tech, or is it focused more on business and development? Because obviously sometimes we see startups with chicken before the egg, and it doesn't quite make sense. So in having people like, for example, Cal lead out as the COO, you have a lot of business representatives. underneath that, do you have substantial technological support, engineers, people who really can help you build this fundamental protocol and keep this going as an active, successful protocol?
Yeah, exactly. First, we concentrate more technology, and that's why we already building software. We already building working better, and to show how all protocol will work. For sure, first, our first focus on development on tech side. Business development right now is interesting more for cooperation, for finding partnership, and because the project looks quite big actually, because it touch different areas of this whole ecosystem of blockchain. We want to utilize as much as possible other projects, and for example, this atomic swap functionality we started building ourselves, and we have some in our code repository. But we find, for example, that the same idea, maybe the same techniques used in one chain. That's why we want to use their expertise and concentrate more on providing value to end users.
Makes a lot of sense, and it also allows you to capitalize on others that have spent the time in building their key assets technologically, so that you can align and fast track your own development. With advisors, I want to ask you that, because you have some pretty big names. One of them is the Director of Communications, and that is David Atkinson from Holochain. And then you also have Damon and, my apologies for the mispronunciation, but Jingyuan Ye, who is the chairman of digital asset firms. Now you have business interest here, you have VCs essentially, but the big one was David Atkinson for me. To have him on board as advisor, what does it mean?
Yeah, exactly. Having David on board is a big honor for us. He helps us a lot in driving us in the right direction, to help us building with Holochain community, and not all Holochain, but also he drive us in right direction to meet our the main goal, to create to become the project like Bloomberg for crypto. It's our main goal and general idea to provide all-in-one platform for that DeFi platform.
Right. Okay. Now, with the advisors, I wanted to ask you, just in the name of transparency, because so many startups do not disclose when they pay their advisors. And I remember in the ICO period, and even IEO, we saw many academics, big name academics from Stanford, from Harvard, from Cambridge, from literally Cornell. A lot of them were paid quite simply to have their name attached to a startup, and they didn't disclose many of the time that was the case. Now, are your advisors, as part of your token strategy, are they paid as part of the process?
Actually, we don't want to put someone on site just for the name. We want everyone to contribute to help our project. That's why all of our members bring real value to the project. We have allocation in our.
Yes, I saw that 10%. I think set aside for advisors. That's why I wanted to ask you directly.
Yes, so for sure, some of so our advisors receive some token share. We don't pay directly to them.
Okay,
sure, they get tokens.
But I do appreciate the transparency, because it just doesn't happen enough, and it also helps us better understand their position. So what you're saying is that these advisors are set up so they are supported with token allocation over time, but they're incentivized to be a part of this project long term.
For sure. It's a kind of participation in the whole business. So every is interested in long-term period. Also for securing our investors, we implemented bridge toll mechanism which secure using.
Yes, well, we're definitely going to talk about that bridge troll because that's certainly a very interesting topic at the very least. But I want to just quickly recap on your core features before we get into some of those things. Now, one of the things we haven't perhaps talked enough about is your shared liquidity pool. Why is that such an advantage to have that designed or built into your system?
Yeah, shared liquidity pool is our unique feature, and what it provides to our users is that you can utilize this pool for executing order on a particular exchange. So you don't need to open accounts on every exchanges that are connected to Orion. You just need to have your funds on your cold wallet and start trading. But to meet your order and to fulfill your order, Orion just find the best broker for the current time who can execute your order. That's the main idea of Orion, because from one part you just trade peer-to-peer with, for example, trader and broker, and after that, broker immediately execute contra order, inverse order on the particular exchange on his account, from his account on the exchange. That's why this particular broker doesn't have any risk of price fluctuation. He completely secured his position, but still providing liquidity, providing assets to initial traders who initiate the order. So that's idea is Orion just bring together traders who wants to trade efficiently with a low fee, with the best possible price on the market, and the brokers or liquidity providers who wants to receive guaranteed revenue for executing orders on traders' behalf.
Right. Okay.
So that's why we allow the brokers also to generate revenue. And what we want to achieve right now that quite big funds are stored on centralized exchange right now, and not all of them are actively used. So not every users trade every day. But we want to make this money work because we implemented a completely riskless mechanism of making this money work and receiving guaranteed income for the owners. We see these activities from different exchanges right now. For example, Binance announced that users can lend their funds to margin trading. But we want to make this more transparent and want to attract a broader audience to this field, because we want to not only users from Binance or from other, but from any exchanges to join this pool and to be able to execute orders and receiving guaranteed fee.
Right, it's a big deal, and obviously that expands. That's part of the wider Orion ecosystem, which includes. I've just written down a few just for a quick recap because of time. Things like we mentioned the auto matching engine, then the multi-currency wallet. Again, that shared liquidity pool, crypto indexes, and the portfolio manager. So for those who want to know more about the repleteness or the holistic nature of the ecosystem, certainly look more into Orion, into the literature. Now, other modules also exist, as I understand it as well, modules for standardization, such as the portfolio management tool I mentioned, storing, tracking, crypto index management, profit loss calculations. Can you tell us a little bit more about those modules? Because a lot of people wouldn't know that you're building other things into this system.
Yeah, actually, portfolio management, sophisticated portfolio management tool. Actually, it was something that we started the idea of Orion, but later understand that many different other applications can be built on the same core models. So yeah, portfolio management is just another product on top of Orion Protocol. It will allow us to for users to easily track the investment, to easily buy and store any crypto assets. Right now, for sure, we concentrate more on core components, on protocol components, and after that, many other interesting applications can be built on top of it.
Right, and we're looking forward to seeing some of those. And even, as I said, in the readings I've done, I can see indicators of that. Now, one of the things I think is most important to ask is, you alluded to the complexities associated with building what is an exchange aggregator. But there's also suggestions through your comparison chart that you have that others are trying to do some things that are similar. So I've written them down, the names of those that you listed as potential competitors, let's say. So 0x, Loopring, Kyber, BlockNet, AirSwap, and others that are listed. Now, what sets you apart fundamentally from those I've mentioned and others when it comes to really driving home your value? What makes you distinct? And if not, and for want of a better term, what makes you better?
Yeah, we have comparison tables that compare different projects you mentioned also by different key features or key points of this product. But to sum up, to recap, we have advantage. We have two major advantages over most of all the projects that doing the similar things. First of all, we targeted omni-blockchain support right from the beginning. So, for example, like 0x or Loopring, they working on Ethereum only and allows to trade ERC20 tokens only. We will allow to trade and to cross-chain trading right from the beginning. And the first,
so BTC cross-chain, Ethereum cross-chain. Yeah. So you're literally agnostic and open to the first chains.
Now waves and other assets. And the second very big major advantage is that we utilize centralized liquidity for doing this trading, because exist some interesting projects, for example, that allows to trade Litecoin to Bitcoin in completely decentralized way. But if you open this order book, you don't find much orders on this order book.
That's true.
Yeah, that's why it's key important to utilize centralized liquidity, and that's what Orion do perfectly because of its shared liquidity pool. So these two big advantage: more cross-chain trading and utilizing centralized liquidity.
Got it. Okay. Now some tough stuff. I want to talk about your raise in terms of the money you've raised in the past, and move into discussions on the token, if that's okay. Now, in the past, you've had a small raise, as I understand, and you're moving more towards this private sale. From my understanding, you want to raise approximately 3 to 4 million. Talk us through what you're planning to do, and give us a bit of a recap on what you have raised so far.
Yeah, we're trying to have the whole cap as small as possible. So we have the whole cap of token sale 4 million. We did small 4 million. Yeah, 4 million. We did small seed round in previous in 2018. Yeah, we raised around 350.
Okay.
300. Yeah, 350K. And currently we're in private sale round, and the cap for this private sale is 3 million.
Okay.
So we want to leave very small public, small allocation for public round, and do very quick IEO after our private sale round. So
got it. Okay, so I want to just touch on. I want to touch on these things so we really open this up. Now, the bonus is 30% for the private sale of the 3 mil. The price is set, and it's very transparent. I've seen that you've advertised this information. It's available, and you also have a bridge toll. There's a vesting system built in. This is where I really want to talk about that. Now, let's move across to the public. That's that's 625,000. There's no bonus. The token price is roughly a third extra, so that's understandable. We've seen that in the past, not surprising at all. But this is the thing I do want to understand better. The bridge toll, from my understanding, once you list, or once the token lists, the private investors can sell if they want to, and at a significant loss, using the bridge toll. Does that worry you?
Actually, this bridge toll mechanism implemented to provide an option for our investors. Private sale receive revenue, receive bonus, so they have 30% bonus, and if they want to immediately after public, after token generation, after public IEO,
if they liquidate,
stay liquid and sell. For sure they should pay 30% bridge toll fee. That will immediately be burned, reducing the whole circulating supply of our token.
Right. So, the reason I ask is because LTO did a bridge troll, I think they called it that, which was essentially a very similar model, and it was very successful in deterring people to a certain point, though, Alex. So they didn't sell. That they were very reserved about that, but eventually it was clear from the way that price action happened that there were some instances of selling pressure. So are you concerned at all, given that the market is what it is? There's not a lot of liquidity in the space overall, certainly not a lot of institutional money coming in. Are you concerned that this is a mechanism of protection but not a guarantee?
I think it's a mechanism of protection for sure, and for protection
from dumping. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, dumping. It's the first month, that's for sure, and the first period, and after. So this bridge toll mechanism ends in 9 months for private sale and in 12 months for seed round, and after that, for sure, Orion will be more steady system and more. So Orion token will receive after this period the demands from other activities on the platform.
Sure. And the reason why I wanted to push this is because having long lockups is a double-edged sword. It creates trust clearly for those that are there for the long term, and I do appreciate that. But by the same token, no pun intended, on the other side of the argument is that if you have such long lockups, then those tokens aren't presented to the ecosystem for utility. So in doing your system, what's interesting is that you mentioned that the 12 months is the maximum period of time, and the seed investors and the private sale investors could essentially start to offload at costs to them according to the bridge toll. Now, what's interesting is that if any of these guys start to react, what is going to be a fundamental outcome is that it will increase the spread in terms of distribution of this digital asset, of this token itself. So that could be a boon. But once again, are you worried that some of these parties, because of the very volatile nature, because maybe they've concerned about performance, that they dump at some point and affect the integrity of your ecosystem, affect the security of that, because obviously the token itself is part of the trust support.
Actually, we have quite a small number of this seed round, and private round. We also consider only strategic investors that not only gives us money, but also brings additional value in terms of cooperation, in terms of business development. So we are very selective to our investors.
I see. Well, I really hope you select carefully, because in the past we've seen some that I would assume have said the right things but haven't necessarily acted after they've invested in accordance with what they've said. Some of them literally have dumped on the CEOs, dumped on the teams, and moved on to other projects. So I really hope that those people who join your private sale, those parties and those VCs, really genuinely stand up and support you. I really do, because this bridge toll means they have choices that lockups don't allow.
Yeah, they have choices, and but the fee is very high in first period, so they do really carefully to think carefully if they decide to.
Did you ever consider a lockup instead of the bridge toll? Did you ever think about just locking those parties away for some time as you were just building the ecosystem and building your technology, just as an insurance policy to make sure there could be no major dumping?
Yeah, we considered, but this bridge toll actually we received good feedback about from community, from investors regarding this bridge toll mechanism. So it's more for to satisfy the more investors as possible. So I think it's always better to have options, for sure.
Right.
But in terms of price pressure, I think bridge toll has the same guarantees.
Sure, I think you were very brave to do it. It's not an easy process to do, and obviously I wish you all the best in that approach. It's transparent, which I like. With regard to the token though, I thought a lot about this. Given that you're an exchange aggregator, I tried to really understand what is it about the token itself that really makes it clear that it needs to be there. So could you tell us in your own words, why do you fundamentally need a token? Because I was wondering, could you actually run this without a token technically, or do you feel that this is absolutely essential?
For sure, we have two main use cases for tokens, and several other auxiliary uses. First is trading fee and staking. Staking is absolutely necessary for settlement between Orion and brokers and liquidity providers. So to join this liquidity pool and to be able to receive guaranteed income, you need to stake the minimum amount of Orion tokens, and you will be able to.
Okay, so staking is the gateway to settlement in this instance, and you must use the token to get there. Okay.
Gateway, and also the means to select the best broker, because we expect that because it's riskless mechanism of receiving revenue, so it's some passive income maybe. We have many applications to join this pool, and at the current time there can be many options to choose, and we will select the brokers based on the staking. So the more token you stake, the more frequently you will be chosen for executed order, like proof of stake mechanism work on blockchain.
Okay, so the primary utilities then in this case, if we could say that word, is staking and payments and settlement.
So answering your question, so it's absolutely necessary, and it's natural. There is natural applications of token. Besides of it, there are also some some features like margin trading, like unlock premium features, access to arbitrage opportunities.
Yes, I read into them, and you have discount systems as well.
Order types also will be only possible for Orion token holders.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, that was a big question, I know, but it really is important that we always understand that you have a real use case, you have a real purpose for your token, and quite simply, some startups just don't need one, as you know. Now, with regard to distribution of the token, once again, 40% is allocated for the token sale. Foundation, I wanted to find out more about that because 25% of the overall distribution is going to that, and I don't understand exactly what the foundation means. And then you have the dev team. And marketing is pretty much self-explanatory. So the foundation and dev team allocations, I wanted to better understand. What do those two parties do, and why have you allocated, essentially over approximately a third? It's 25% for one and 12% for the other, for that as you build out your ecosystem.
Yeah, so team is to motivate team members, and as you already know that we are completely technical focused team. So for sure to motivate and to bring new developers. So team is more for this part of for development activities.
Okay. And the foundation?
Foundation, it actually first of all, team and foundation have strong lockup, so it have 12 months for team and 24 months for foundation lockup, so without bridge toll mechanism. So it's, by the way, answering.
Okay, so just to clarify that, so the team themselves, and these are the people we see in the white paper or on the websites. Are you saying that all of the team are locked up differently? They don't, and the bridge toll doesn't apply to any of those parties?
Yeah, the bridge toll doesn't apply to these two. So bridge toll only for investors.
Right. And how long did you say that period of time is for?
For team 12 months and for foundation 24 months. Foundation is reserved for development for third party development of different models and products on top of Orion.
Do you think you allocated enough time? Just given that I know crypto moves very quickly, but we've seen some startups where they literally unlocked their foundation tokens, and then very quickly after that happened, there was a huge downturn in their whole economy because there wasn't enough support. There wasn't enough of that core support as a foundation, where essentially there was a lockup, there was a vault, of token value, really to uphold the integrity of the system. Are you worried a bit at all about the timeframes, or do you think you've got the numbers right?
I think we have a good roadmap in the first and in the second year. So this lookup for sure makes sense. And regarding unlocking and dumping, for sure, it all depends not more on this locking or not unlocking, but more on how a project and tokens is used. If token has a steady, constant demand for users, for customers, number of customers increase every month. So I think there won't be any problem for any.
Got it. It's very interesting.
We concentrate on the use of our product and to make as much as possible as many products, as many useful products for our end users that can generate revenue and will rely tokens.
Yes, and I wanted to ask you, it's interesting because you're an exchange aggregator, you're moving obviously towards liquidity for your own token, which would mean work being onboarded or accepted by exchanges. Now, are you talking at all with any exchanges, or are they talking more rather to you with the prospect of listing you? Are you even considering an IEO, for example, given that from the other side of the coin, you're going to support IEOs?
You mean, actually we are going to do our public public round on on some of exchange. We have already negotiation with a couple of them. So yeah, we do small pre-sale or IEO on one of well-known exchanges.
And you're not telling me which one?
We have several options right now, so not finalized yet.
Okay, so are they prominent, well-known exchanges with good liquidity, good branding? I ask you because some of the exchanges have not been good actors. Some of them have been acting for their own interests. So are you doing your homework to make sure that however you enter this marketplace as a token, that it's on a trusted exchange with good liquidity and good reputation?
Yeah, so a good exchange. I can say that we consider only top exchanges like Bitmax, Bittrex, Binance.
Okay, so some of the big Bs. Okay, it's exciting to hear what's going to come. And do you have a roadmap in terms of dates, roughly, when you think this is all going to play out? Post pre-sale, post private sale, roughly when
we are going to close private sale in September or early October, and right after that there will be a small public round. I guess it will be. So we're struggling to do it in November.
Okay, right. Well, you're not raising a lot, 4 mil. It is a lot in this climate because raising any funds is challenging, but it isn't a lot comparatively. 4 mil, your total cap. So, it's interesting. It's transparent, and I really appreciate just how forward you've been about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with regard to partners, we've talked about those. Some of the others we haven't mentioned, perhaps Switch.io. Well, that's one we missed, so that's just one extra for a point of reference. But in terms of milestones for the roadmap coming, are there any things that you want to mention that you're excited about, other than obviously the listing coming? Mainnet, obviously, is another one. But are there any big things you want to mention that are coming that are, fundamental to the development of Orion?
Yeah, for the next year, we concentrate on B2B products like DEX Launch Kit and Liquidity Boost plugin. So after releasing our trading terminal in mainnet, it will be our next milestones, very important, and which will evolve our business-to-business streams with our partners, with other exchanges. So it will be next step.
Well, that's exciting to hear. I wanted to also ask you, just directly, if that's okay. I've read through pitch deck, I've read through the white paper, and some other primary documentation. Now, with regard to the white paper itself, was that a collaborative effort from the team? Because, just from some feedback, I felt that at some of the time it was a bit like a more elaborate pitch deck. So will there be more literature to come, is what I'm alluding to as well. More information about some of the fundamentals, some of the technology. Will there be more PR on what you do as you build as well? Because I noticed that with the white paper, quite frankly, I thought that, it was a starting point, but there's a lot more that could be done to explain the fundamentals of what you do.
Yeah, right now we're concentrated and focused on development code and on writing technical documentation. It will be on wiki, also on our public wiki. So with technical documentation for developers, for community, for sure, we are completely engaged in this activity.
I see. So there's a lot more to come. I hope that this has been, a very informative interview for all those who are listening. I'd like to thank you as well, Alexey Koloskov, for your time as CEO of Orion. I would also like to remind everyone, in the name of transparency, this was sponsored, and I did my very best to be objective as possible, but it is important Alex, thanks again for supporting both myself and BlockVera. And I also, I'm glad to see that there's a discussion had about aggregation, means in which collaboration between centralized and decentralized exchanges can operate and interoperate together. Cross-chain protocols are now supported, and you're leading out this whole startup with the protocol that is the Orion one. So, mate, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully, as you move to the next phase, we could catch up again and just have a chat about the developments, about the realness of this, and also just to explore more of the realities of what it means to essentially be operational, and also those partnerships. We mentioned Holochain as just one example, but we want to really continue the conversation of what real partnerships can do and what real protocols can do as you emerge in the blockchain domain. So thank you again for your time.
Yeah, so thank you, Brad. Thank you, Brad. It was a pleasure to talk with you, and I'm trying to be transparent and honest as always as possible. And looking forward to chat with you soon and to update with our activities and to give more information as we move along to our road. Yeah, and
absolutely.
For community, for members, please also visit our Telegram channel, Telegram group, visit our site, GitHub, Telegram, Twitter. So any media channels that we have, we always try to be responsive there.
Sure. Thank you for reminding me to mention that. So if you'd like to know more, make sure you look at the description below. I will make sure they're there. Alex is right. If you want to know more, the source is always the best. He is the CEO, and there's more to come, obviously, for discussion, for deliberation, and obviously the channels out there that represent Orion Protocol. So thank you once again, Alex, for your time today. I've learned a lot. Hopefully the audience has too. And once again, we'll catch up soon for a second conversation for further updates and explorations of what Orion is doing and plans to do in the future. Thank you.
See you soon.
See you, mate.
Bye.